And for more, we take you out to Acrisure, where we are pleased. Lead NFL analyst on CBS, Tony Romo, joins us now. Tony, this was two vastly different halves of football. What do you point to in the material change at halftime for Buffalo that rendered this result?
Well, I think they adjusted a little bit better than Pittsburgh at the beginning. They had a corner blitz that resulted in Bosa getting one-on-one, and then obviously the sack that creates a touchdown. Benford scores, and then the interception when Rudolph comes in. That was the biggest swing of the game, because right there was just a field position game, and it was going to come down to possibly a late score. And that really put the onus on Pittsburgh, and they just weren't able to overcome, some of the deficiencies. And you could see some of those, on the outside a little bit right now. And then on top of it, their inability to stop the run when they ran a very similar, basically two plays in the run game over and over again and can impose their will. I mean, that would be concerning if I was Pittsburgh, but also a great sign for Buffalo. Down two tackles, you can still go in and just make the game simple.
You point to that play at halftime, and it really felt like insult to injury, because Rodgers is dealing with something there on the wrist, the fractures, and then comes up bloodied with the nose. Talk to me about the mechanics of operating as a quarterback at this level on 1.5 arms and then bloodied in it as well.
Well, I think he handled it well. I think they had a good plan for it, but they couldn't run the football today. Buffalo did a great job coming out and neutralizing it, making it a passing contest, and they don't have the weapons on the outside consistently enough to do that, and especially with the structure of this Bills defense and how they make it look this way and then come from over here. They just had Rodgers under duress and obvious passing downs, but it was the inability of Pittsburgh to be able to run the ball that was the difference, outside of obviously Buffalo's ability to run the ball.
And it's a Buffalo defense that has struggled to stop the run, still just 50-some yards for this offense, outgained by 206 yards. They're 166 in total, the fewest in a home game since 1994, Tony. You pointed to those missing pieces up front for Buffalo. The mercenaries come in and they find themselves a win on the road. What sort of confidence builder is that for a team that surely needed one?
It's huge, because you have to change your entire game plan. If you saw that, it was literally get the ball out quick, screens, quick passes, flats, get the running backs in motion, do things in the pass game. I think they took one pass in the first half that I saw was 10 yards or more downfield, and that was still in rhythm while they chipped the edges, but it was just run the football. They had to run the football. When you bring backup offensive tackles in, you can still run the ball technically, different than if the guards were hurt, but you can't pass protect. And so I think it was a great plan by Buffalo in the way that they came out and really just executed it.
From Dallas to Pittsburgh, everywhere in between, Tony Romo always has us covered. Appreciate you, pal.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.
A full holiday week for our team with the NFL on CBS as they bring you a couple of high-stakes matchups. Most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in NFL history. It was only a matter of time. Josh Allen distancing himself further from Jalen Hurts and crossing the former record holder in Cam Newton.
Well, Josh just said to me, fine.
Those Bills rushing attack between two second-string tackles just going and getting the job done. 249 on the ground. The most we've seen at the stadium since it opened. I would like to just avert our eyes for a moment down to the bottom. What happened in 07?
Oh, Max, so you was.
I feel like we have firsthand experience.
I asked you, man. You said you didn't give up.
What happened?
I didn't think that was Casey Hampton them fault. They didn't do the secondary. What we supposed to do? We supposed to be tackling the secondary a lot? No.
I mean,
they get to the third level like that.
Sounds like you made a few tackles that day. 224.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And to delve deeper with the fellas, and I want to start right there with the run game, Mac. You know what it is to wear that uniform, to carry that standard. Pat, you as well. This isn't that. And we've seen it time and again throughout this year. Struggles to stop the run, and that's really the question in the NFL right now. Who can run it? Who can stop the run? The answer, the Steelers couldn't today.
They couldn't. They couldn't run the football. They couldn't stop the football. Stop them from running the ball as well. And I think the most confusing thing about this game was for Buffalo, they were missing two tackles, Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown, right? We just saw the Buffalo Bills offensively could not run the football against the Houston Texans over a week ago. We just saw offensively the Buffalo Bills could not protect their quarterback over a week ago against the Houston Texans.
With
and
their
I know,
starters.
With their starters. And I know Houston defensively, they're living in a different world. But for Pittsburgh, with the personnel they have going against 2 backup tackles, one would think you would at least sack Josh Allen.
You mean they didn't sack him?
Zero.
Sacked 8
One would
times
think
a week ago.
you would collapse the pocket, make things difficult for him. One would think you could slow down the running game just a tad bit. Neither of those things happened, which led to Buffalo doing something that they needed to do. This was a must-win situation for Buffalo. Must win because of the team they're chasing in that division in the New England Patriots and where they're currently sitting in the entire landscape in the AFC. And for Pittsburgh, the same can be said for them because of what happened this past Thursday night with Baltimore losing to Cincinnati. You had an opportunity to grab a hold of the AFC North, right? And you're playing against a team that was missing guys. And you go out and you get bullied and you get pushed around. That's not the Pittsburgh Steelers way. That's not the way, especially when you're talking about playing against backups on the offensive line. And you couldn't – the Achilles heel for Buffalo defensively has been what? The inability to stop the run.
Stop the run.
Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh ran for how many yards?
58.
58.
They stopped it.
And outside of DK Metcalf, who had 3 receptions, no other wide receiver caught 1 pass.
It's interesting because, Pat, I'm wondering, not to broaden too much here, but there's often times during the offseason by unhappy Pittsburgh fans, things said about the unwillingness to change or to adjust. We just heard Tony Romo talk about the unwillingness to adjust in game here by Pittsburgh. Is that something you hear or that you feel perhaps? Because this is a team that, despite the disparity in yardage, was in a football game at halftime.
Right.
They came out a different team in the second half and not the way you want to.
Well, they're not doing something right because it's continuing to happen week in and week out. Teams are able to put up either as big-time passing yards or as big-time rushing yards. This Steelers defense is not the same that it has been in the past. Way too many big yards. They're allowing teams to run the football on them, impose their will, something that you're not used to seeing from a Pittsburgh Steelers defense. If the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is not turning over the ball or shortening the field for their offense, they are in trouble.
Yeah.
Today, they had 3 yards in the third quarter. That is not winning football.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about identity early on in the
Steelers Nation, hear me loud and clear. This loss to the Buffalo Bills wasn't just another L in the column. It was a gut punch, a reality check, a slap across the face in front of our home crowd at Acrisure Stadium. The final score, 26-7. But the damage went far beyond the numbers on the scoreboard. What happened out there was a full-blown unraveling, from the coaching staff to the execution to the energy. It was one of those games that makes you question everything. But it's also the kind of moment that can spark something bigger. The game started with a flash of hope. James Cook broke off a 19-yard run, but then Brandon Echols picked off Josh Allen on a big-time play that gave the defense a jolt. And for a minute, it felt like the Steelers were about to turn it on. We got a few nice runs, a solid punt, and then another defensive stand. But what happened next was what's haunted this team all year: inconsistency on offense, lack of rhythm, and poor execution. Rodgers led a promising drive hitting DK Metcalf and Kenneth Gainwell, bringing us to the red zone. Jalen Warren punched it in and we were up 7-0. The crowd was fired up. Acrisure was alive. But that fire didn't last. The second half? Disaster. Joey Bosa came crashing through the offensive line, stripped Rodgers, and the Bills turned it into a defensive touchdown. Then, the worst news: Rodgers injures his throwing hand and leaves the game. Mason Rudolph enters and immediately throws a pick. The momentum was gone. The Bills smelled blood, and they didn't let up. James Cook ran wild, the defense broke down, and Josh Allen walked into the end zone untouched. Rodgers did return, but it was too late. The Steelers were already buried under their own mistakes: blown assignments, missed tackles, offensive penalties, and confusion on critical downs. And just when we thought it couldn't get worse, chants of "Fire Tomlin" rained down from the stands. That's how bad it got. We also lost key players: Patrick Queen out with a hip injury, and James Pierre down with a concussion. The secondary struggled, the front seven failed to contain the edge, and it exposed a lack of depth in a painful way. Even the ever-reliable TJ Watt was seen limping. But here's the twist: Even with all this chaos, all the frustration, the Steelers are still in the hunt, still just one game back of the division lead, still have a shot. We face Baltimore twice down the stretch. We control our destiny. The playoffs are still in play. This isn't about giving up, it's about standing up. Steelers Nation, I want to hear from you. Is this team finished, or is this the fire that finally wakes them up? Can Rodgers get healthy and rally the troops? Can Tomlin silence the noise and prove the doubters wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button if you still bleed black and gold, and don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Wire. We're in this together. Every snap, every hit, every comeback. Let's ride.